Good morning, everyone, and welcome to today's workshop on the progressive design build project delivery method.
Well, thank you, Michael, and thanks everybody. Always wonderful to have people engaged with our BART SBSS program. And just to underscore, I get to do some talking today, but mostly we'll be listening to Mark Kempton, our special guest. But I really want to compliment and really amplify the team members here for the SBSS program, specifically on the pre-award side. Michael brings 25 years of experience from construction management to a whole lot of project controls and so forth. So we're really grateful for Michael's participation. And then if you ever had the chance to get to work with or hear from Melinda Lee, who is our presentation skills coach, she's just remarkable. She really has that secret superpower to bring out the best in everybody. And we'll talk about that in just a few minutes. But Michael, could we go to the next slide? So just for, kind of just to get us on a level set. So the BART Small Business Support Services program has two parts. It's the pre-award and the post-award. And this program was set up by the BART Board of Directors and the leadership of the BART management, as well as the Office of Civil Rights. These are the services that we provide to folks in businesses of all sizes, and all services are free of charge. Nobody has to pay for any of these things. But on the pre-award side, our primary goal is to make folks even more competitive in the marketplace. When they're bidding to BART, we're all about experience, qualifications, and building capacity. So these are some of the services on the left-hand side that you see that we have helped firms with over the last 5 years. And it's really a very succinct and very process-driven services. So we start with an intake session. We identify what your needs are and help you through different levels of navigating the BART procurement portal, making sure you have access to the plan holders lists, where to get the links for BART contract opportunities and so forth. So we really take you through a very prescribed process, and then we find out what's most important to you. A lot of people, it's updating their capability statements, their LinkedIn, their website, and then making sure that we build connections. And of course, it's always about really how do we provide relevance to the marketplace. So thank you. So if we can go to the next slide. So one of the things that we want to do under the umbrella of education is really bring forth to you more and more public agencies are using alternative project methods. Sometimes it's called collaborative delivery methods. And as businesses, again, of all sizes, we know that there's a lot of information that comes at us. So what we wanted to do today, with no contract in specific, our focus, we really wanted to kind of unbundle some of the secrets behind the progressive design build. And the person who I think is one of the nation's leaders in understanding and communicating the different methods of collaborative delivery is Mark Kempton. Mark Kempton has, decades of experience working within the industry, both on the A&E as well as the contractor community. He heads up and is the CEO of an organization called Cal Infra, and he'll talk about that in a minute. But truly, we're so honored to have one of the nation's leading advocates for both educating and engaging businesses within these delivery methods. So, Mark, I know your resume is deep and strong, but do you want to kind of take it from here and kind of lead us into the discussion and talk a little bit about Cal Infra so that everybody knows what it is?
Yeah, thank you very much, Paul. I appreciate it. And good morning, everybody. I am, as Paul mentioned, Mark Kempton. I am the executive director of Cal Infra, which is the shortened firm title. We are the California Infrastructure Delivery Coalition. That's our long name. This is a nonprofit, public-private and labor sector organization, coalition focused on advancing the use of alternative, or as Paul mentioned, collaborative forms of project delivery. So design build, which many of you are familiar with, progressive design build, which we'll be talking about today, CMGC, P3s, public-private partnerships, and the like. So these really collaborative delivery generally refers to any type of delivery that is outside traditional design bid build, although really collaborative delivery is made up of those delivery mechanisms that allow for greater collaboration between the private sector participants and the public sector in the delivery of public assets. So we'll go a little bit more deeper into progressive design build. But if anyone has any questions, please feel free to ask, as well as about CalInfra or about what we're talking about today, progressive design build. Happy to answer any of those. And of course, at the end, I think Michael, we'll have my contact information made available so that if any of you desire to reach out to me directly with questions, or if there is a question that I can't answer today for whatever reason, then maybe I can gather the information necessary and get back to you. As Paul mentioned, this is not related to any particular project. CalInfra does not promote any particular type of delivery mechanism. We're not anti-design bid build. We're not pro-progressive design build. We're simply really trying to make it easier for all participants in project delivery here in California to be able to use any type of delivery mechanism that they see fit in order to best deliver any type of infrastructure project and provide the best value to the public. So with that, I guess Paul, Michael, will just dive in. So if we could go to the next slide. So progressive design build involves a single design and construction package where the contractor performs both the design and construction in an integrated manner, but they're compared to traditional fixed price design build, design build. There's a couple differences. One, the progressive design build contractor may be engaged earlier and will negotiate the construction price later in the design process. And two, the owner, together with any interfacing contractors and third parties, is more involved together in working as partners throughout design development. So the scope is performed in two phases. And actually, if we could go to the next slide. And let me start with the RFQ, RFP process. So like in design build, there's a lot more focus on experience and approach as opposed to just the lowest qualifying bid. And then the scope is performed in two distinct phases. Phase one, design development. That's made up of collaborative working groups. There's risk management that is developed, evolved together between the public and the private partners. There's a progressive buildup of a phase two schedule and cost on a GMP or FFP basis. When an acceptable level of design is reached, typically between 65 and 95%, then that is the trigger for the movement on to the next phase. So phase two is very much just like a normal design build. That is where the final design and construction occurs. It should be noted that early works packages are used to advance long lead items, and progressively there is an agreement to commence these packages as part of the phase 2 final design and construction work, and that's done to accelerate the schedule. So if we could go to the next slide, you get a sense here of the, how between design bid build and design build, where progressive design build sort of fits in terms of the contractor and the owner participation. So in design bid build, of course, it's really just the owner from planning through pre-construction, and then when you get to generally 100% design, you go out and you engage a contractor to deliver the asset. In design build, the owner is involved in the planning phase predominantly. They get to a certain level of design, and then they go out and they find a contractor, a design builder that will come in and will advance the design from that point forward and then deliver the project. Progressive design build, again, allows or brings in the design builder. We have it labeled as contractor here, but let's use the term design builder. Brings in the design builder very early on, and they work together through the planning phase and together through the pre-construction phase. And as they move through these development phases, the design builder begins to take more and more of a role. And those during that first phase, you can actually have various off ramps, at levels of design where the owner and the contractor will have a go, no-go, pardon me. I haven't had my coffee this morning. I apologize. You have a go, no-go decision point where there could, there's discussions about where the design is going, what the proposed cost is beginning to look like as it's shaping up. And at those points throughout that initial phase, there is an off-ramp for the public sector to be able to say, okay, well, we don't necessarily feel that this is going in the right direction, and as such, we've decided that we're going to go in a different direction. One of the reasons why this type of delivery mechanism is so popular with the public sector is it has that level of flexibility. But hopefully this graphic gives you kind of a feel for how there is greater engagement opportunity and all the benefits that can come with that in a progressive design build. And so if we could move on to the next slide. So what are some of the significant advantages of progressive design build? One is that the pricing is negotiated after contractor selection, and risk of an off-ramp, if not they're agreed to that price, and risk of a delay, that risk is better managed if the price is not agreed to, or if there is a risk that is developing or different direction that is developing in the course of the development process. So in a progressive design build, similar to types of delivery like CMGC, the delivery, the owner has greater involvement than under the fixed price design build. There is greater opportunity for incorporation of preferences, specifically what we refer to as preference comments, not just compliance comments. The contractor still retains overall responsibility for the design and construction. In affordability constrained projects, the owner and contractor work together to identify value engineering opportunities. The ability for the contractor to work with the owner to optimize and agree the schedule concurrent with the design and development, and before agreeing to the price. This also ensures flexibility for any delays, to account for any delays in any owner retained responsibilities, things such as site access. Similar to a fixed price design build, there is a greater opportunity for design innovation. And as we discussed a little bit earlier, there's opportunities to accelerate the schedule through early works packages. Compared to a fixed price design build, again, negotiation of risk allocation and pricing happens when risks are better understood and the design is further developed, which reduces contingency pricing. And compared to fixed price design build, a negotiation of the pricing is closer to the time of construction, again, reducing that contingency pricing. So can we go to the next slide? So pricing being negotiated after contractor selection has benefits when we're talking about that pricing happening later in the process, but at the same time, when you have that pricing occurring after the contractor selection, there is that price negotiation that can, as we say, moving through the phases and having those go, no go decision points, there is the risk, of course, that that pricing becomes, the owner becomes uncomfortable with or decides the pricing is not appropriate. And again, you have that off-ramp capability, so that's a benefit, but at the same time, the risk can be heightened. The risk of that off-ramp needing to be exercised can be heightened in the progressive design build delivery mechanism, simply because you're as you develop, you're coming up with new information, new to design, and thus new cost and new risks being identified, because you're working together through that development. It is resource intensive for the owner. Until recently, traditionally, this type of delivery mechanism has not been utilized, and when it has been, it's been utilized for water, utility, vertical build projects. So while we're seeing increasing use of this in the transportation sector, it's a relatively immature market, with many projects under implementation, but not as many successfully completed, so that we can look back on a large number of transportation projects that have used progressive design build, both to improve the way we use progressive design build and also to showcase the value of progressive design build. So that's a challenge for progressive design build. And then finally, one of the challenges is we also, as with CMGC and design bid build, the contractor's focus is on the constructability of the designs and the construction means and methods, rather than on the life cycle costs. So long-term maintainability, asset renewal, it's up to the owner to work with its contractor during phase one to ensure that the designs and the construction means and methods meet their life cycle and long-term O&M objectives. A type of delivery mechanism like public-private partnerships, that typically involves O&M brought into the purview of the design, build, operate, maintain entity, the private entity. And so, of course, they're thinking more along those lines as they move through the process. Like with design bid build, progressive design build, CMGC, The contractor, the design builder is done once they deliver the project. And so again, their primary focus is on, on making sure that the designs are designed for constructability, and they focus on how they are constructing the project in an effort to make sure that they deliver what they've been asked to deliver, but they don't tend to think much beyond that without the owner's interaction and involvement in that process.
So let me be clear. So we as an industry are used to the traditional design, bid, build, which is the format that everybody used for so many years. But of course, then now with these new methods that are being utilized, so if you've got design build, you got CMGC, you got progressive design build, and then the public-private partnership, the P3. Can you just share what are the motivating factors for a public agency like BART or other, in this case, transportation agencies? Why would they choose one method over another? Is it funding? Is it, what are the factors that go into why a public agency would choose a specific method?
Yeah, so I all of these methods really, in addition to offering the benefits that come with early collaboration, there is also the opportunity to share risk that is traditionally held in traditional design bid build, held entirely by the owner, right? So when you're dealing with projects where there is a high degree of unknown risk, uncertainty, or risk that the owner decides they are not in the best position to manage said risk, these types of delivery mechanisms offer the opportunity to shift that risk to the private sector when the private sector is in a position to better manage that risk. So in addition, there is the ability to bring in greater innovation from the private sector through that collaborative process. So when you're looking for innovation, when you're looking for value engineering, when you're dealing with a high degree of unknown risk for a project, or a level of uncertainty that you as a public owner feel could be better managed by a private sector partner, when there's sufficient design complexity that where the owner wants to transfer that risk as well to the design construction entity. These are all reasons why, as an owner, you would choose to use one of these delivery mechanisms. Again, progressive design build is unique in that it affords the owner the opportunity to get all the benefits of a design build, but also to have these off-ramps, as we talked about throughout the development process. They can have these, these steps throughout phase one, where they have the go, no go decision. Effectively, that's the term I like to use. But they come back, they look at the design as it's been progressed so far. They look at the projected cost, and they all come to a decision about whether or not to proceed. Of course, really that decision lies with the owner, and then the owner has the opportunity to go in a different direction if they want to, making that type of delivery mechanism very attractive because of that level of flexibility. You mentioned financing. Again, we're not talking about public-private partnerships today, but public-private partnerships also bring in the opportunity for financing from the private sector. There is another type of delivery mechanism called design build finance, where a design builder can bring in some level of financing. So that is also an option. So when you do want to bring in financing, there are collaborative delivery mechanisms that also involve that financing opportunity. Progressive design build is not one of them. However, with public-private partnerships, there is something called PDA, or pre-development agreement, which is effectively a progressive design build P3, if you will, sort of a combination of the two. I'm oversimplifying that a little bit, but it involves, you know, the long-term operation and maintenance of an asset, as well as the design and construction, but it also has that early involvement of the private sector partner, and a phased approach. So that's an answer to your question, Paul. That I think that would be why, and I think we go over this a little bit in the next slide as well.
Great.
Hopefully that answered your question.
Great, thank you. So Michael, can you go to the next slide? There we go.
Yeah, so when might an owner choose progressive design build? And so as we just discussed, you've got the value engineering and innovation in design that is needed, in addition to construction means and methods that are more appropriate for the design. So in other words, you bringing the contractor in at an earlier phase in coordination with the design team, and being able to develop the most appropriate construction means and methods and integrate that into the design. That's all a possibility with progressive design build. Again, contracts where there's a high degree of unknown risk or uncertainty at the time of procurement, and where there is a level of design complexity, and the owner wants to transfer that risk to the design construction team, but the owner also wants to retain involvement in the design development and manage things like interfaces, help to manage those better. When is the progressive design build not suitable? Contracts where the owner needs a specific design, such as an extension or a redevelopment. The contractor the owner really knows what they want, and has that design ready to go. Where private financing is required, again, that would not be progressive design build. That would be a different type of delivery mechanism like P3. And when there's a straightforward project with clear scope, minimal risk, or risk that is well understood or best retained by the owner, minimal risk of changes, sufficient certainty to benefit from competitive fixed price proposals. That's when a traditional type of delivery like design bid build would be best utilized by the owner. So next slide, if you don't mind, Michael. So taking a look at this is a case study that we have of a progressive design build that's been used in this case. It's the San Diego Airport T2, the Terminal 2 extension. Again, transportation sector design bid build, or sorry, progressive design build. It was the San Diego Airport Authority that initiated this. You had Turner, PCL, Flatiron as the joint venture partners. The project scope comprised the 3-story expansion of Terminal 2. I don't know, those of you who've passed through Terminal 2 in the past, this was an extremely important expansion. Nearly 500,000 square feet of new public and non-public areas, 10 additional aircraft gates, 15,000 square foot atrium, food court area, which, by the way, is absolutely beautiful if you ever get a chance to see it. The large screening checkpoint capable of accommodating all of the new developments that they have in security, technology. It was financed through user fees, airport revenue bonds, airport cash on hand, and Federal Aviation Administration grants. The project was very technically challenging. It did involve contaminated soil remediation. There were, as many of you have been involved in projects know, utility relocations, very difficult, complex. They had extensive utility relocations. They had to manage input from many different stakeholders, right? So you not only had the owner, but you had the airlines, you had the FAA, for the security checkpoints, you had the users. So that's a lot of risk. That needs a lot of collaboration. That's where things like progressive design build really shine. And the project had to be built while operations were ongoing. So that's, you know, and as you all who are familiar with San Diego Airport know, a single runway serving that airport can add to the complexity of managing all of these airlines and operators as they're operating, trying to build such an extension. Very challenging. There were multiple engineering options considered during the design phase. Construction on early works packages started long before terminal design was completed. Again, another benefit brought by progressive design build. The project was completed in 2013. It was under budget, on time, and again, that's these collaborative types of delivery can, when used properly, really advance project delivery and reduce cost significantly, because the cost of that risk is, you know, you often take a lot of your project funds and put it into contingency because you've got a lot of unknown risks or risks that you know, there's concern about how they can best be managed. Risk, it costs money, but when it's transferred to somebody who can manage that risk better, that risk cost comes down. Delivery then can become less expensive, in addition to the other innovations that can you know, advance the efficiency of the project. So I think that may be our last slide, Michael. I don't think we have a slide after that.
One question first. So, Mark, I know there was a time when if a public agency wanted to use a, you know, maybe it was going to be an alternative project delivery method for a contract, they had to get Senate approval or approval from the state of California to do that. And our great friend Luis Robles, who is with Ariel Zeus, brought up the item about Senate Bill 706. So it looks like 706 actually opened up the gateway so that public agencies could start to produce more of these. Is that an accurate statement?
Yeah, so there's been a slew of legislation over the years that has provided greater ability for the public sector to utilize these various forms of project delivery. Senate Bill 706, which recently came out, let's see, that was just this last session, that authorizes the Department of Department of General Services to use progressive design build. Go ahead. Sorry, did I cut someone off?
No, I think that was just unmuted. So go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's the Department of General Services can use progressive design build for the construction of 3 projects. And it also authorizes local agencies. So that's, you know, any city, county, special district, you know, they can utilize progressive design build for the production, storage, treatment, distribution of any water from any source, and use a progressive design build for up to 15 public works projects. I think in excess of $5 million for each project. So and some additional progressive design public works packages or projects as well. So, but what we're seeing here, you know, I'm sorry to try and get into the specifics of any one particular bill. This and the extension of these existing authorities that comes from progressive or bills like Senate Bill 706, which extended the authorities that I was talking about. This is really kind of piecemeal advancement, right, Paul? So what happens is we're ending up with an authority regime that is not very well understood. It's not broad and uniform, and so while you do have existing authority for locals, particularly, to use the progressive design build process for these public works projects, that's there's an end date. There's always a sunset date for this authority. It's and people lacking that broad uniform authority statewide for all agencies to be able to use progressive design build or any other collaborative form of delivery for any type of infrastructure project. That's problematic because it just leads to generally it leads to a lack of use of these delivery mechanisms because they're not necessarily well understood. People are unsure about the authority, how long it will last, the political risk associated with using this authority, so on and so forth. So Paul, to your point, sometimes what owners will do is when they think they may have authority under something like Senate Bill 706, they will still go to the legislature to get specific project authority because they've identified the type of project delivery mechanism they want to use, and they want to just be assured that they have that statutory authority to use that mechanism. So they go back to the legislature and they say, hey, we want to solidify that authority for this project. Can you please run a bill that will do that? So that's I appreciate you bringing up SB 706. Again, there are others that cover CMGC, design build, other aspects of progressive design build, right? The governor issued there was a special Senate bill that gave the Department of Water Resources and Caltrans the ability to use progressive design build for a certain number of projects for a certain period of time. So we're seeing these continuing expansions of authority, but again, there's always limits.
Okay, great.
So much time. Sorry, I apologize for going on about that, Paul.
No. That it's all about what drives the ship, so that's important. So, Farouk actually asked a really good question. Also, is there a source or a resource where people could find a list of progressive design build projects that contractors or consultants can access, so if they want to provide value engineering services? And so is there any one source? Does Cal Infra or does somebody else keep a tab?
No, but that's a great idea. You currently don't have one single list. You still have to go to the individual owners to see what it is that they're going to be, what's on the docket for them. And oftentimes you don't even, at the early stages, of course, you don't know whether that's going to be, or what type of delivery mechanism they're going to use.
Yeah.
So that would be a really good thing to have. And I'm taking notes here. So we're Cal Infra. That's something absolutely we can we could potentially provide for the public or for the private sector partners.
Thank you, Mark, and thanks for that question, Farouk. Amone has a great question, and Amone is one of our statewide treasurers. And her question was, what are the lessons learned with progressive design build projects? Are there anything that top of mind, a couple bullet points that you have seen as it relates to how we can do better process improvement?
I think it's important, as with any collaborative form of project delivery, it's very important to understand the risk. So what we've learned through progressive design build and other types of collaborative delivery, when risk is not well defined, then there can be problems through project delivery when those risks sort of rear their ugly head, and that risk needs to be managed. And if the risks are not adequately defined, understood, and agreed upon, then what you can have is a situation where, the design builder's throwing the risk over onto the public sector, and the public sector throwing the risk back onto the design builder, and there can be some issues. In addition, it's clear that if you do have a well understood low risk or well understood risk project, that's really that's not to the benefit of the owner to use progressive design build. So there have been some circumstances where progressive design build was chosen, not because they wanted to use all the benefits, but more because the owner was interested in utilizing that type of delivery. And then finally, I'll end with this, Paul. As part of that, it is tough for owners who have traditionally used design bid build to sort of let go of the baby, right? The design, you need to be willing to let the design builder innovate, to let the design builder achieve those greater efficiencies. And by trying to exert too much control, owners oftentimes make that very difficult and really don't take full advantage of what progressive design build or CMGC or P3 can offer.
Great.
Hopefully that was good enough, Paul.
Great. And then Richard Wilson. Richard, thank you so much for putting in the chat that the AIA, the American Institute of Architects, might soon have a list of projects utilizing PDB. So Richard also put the link into there, so that's great. Luis actually asks another really great question. So while BIM and 3D modeling aren't mandatory for PDB, do you, Mark, see any kind of trends moving in this direction? Any thoughts on that?
Yeah, absolutely. BIM is the future. Digital construction management. These are all, we were talking a little bit about this before, Paul. I mean, these are all things that bring a great deal of capability, efficiency to project delivery. And because you're talking about a delivery mechanism where the development process involves such a degree of collaboration, the ability to be able to share the design as it's being developed, BIM, digital construction management, they all provide that capability for the owner, for the design builder. And so I see it being just the wave of the future. I mean, we're moving in that direction for even for design bid build, but collaborative forms of project delivery benefit very much from the use of these types of delivery. And so we are seeing owners adopting that as part of the progressive design build process. And thereby, of course, the design builder is getting engaged as well. So, when the owner determines that that there is a significant benefit to be had, obviously they will either make that a requirement as part of the project, or collaboratively we've seen in certain situations where the owner collaboratively with the design builder say, hey, let's use one of these advanced platforms to be able to better collaborate.
Great. And one last question before we move into the last section of our workshop here today. Do you see basically an overall trend where public agencies, specifically in this case transportation, they are opting to, use these methods more and more and more. Is this, should we be ready to see more of this? Or in the specifically progressive design build, do you see more adoption and public agency using this method?
Yeah, I do. Progressive design build, as I mentioned, is particularly popular right now because it offers that level of flexibility. And I do believe, we're seeing that trend. And you see it also when you look at bills like SB 706, you're seeing the public sector going out to the legislature and asking for more authority. One of the things CalInfra does is we are a public, private, and labor organization, and so together with our public partners, we are looking at ways to advance that authority, because our public partners want to have that authority. So you're going to see more and more the use of these types of delivery. But again, let me make it clear that design bid build's not going away. And that traditional delivery works under certain circumstances with the right projects, with a lot of projects. And so this is just a new way of delivering, but they're not going to supplant existing ways of delivery. So I would advise everyone to be prepared. One of the things CalInfra is really focused on is how we can use collaborative forms of project delivery to better engage DBEs, SBEs. Because of the need for innovation or the fact that innovation is so intimately tied with these types of delivery. This is where DBEs, SBEs, XBEs, if you will, really can bring a substantial amount of value with the innovation that they can bring, with the efficiencies that they can bring. And so these types of delivery, in a conversation, Paul, I think you were in the meeting, a conversation that we had with our Caltrans partners, the Office of Civil Rights there. I mean, that was their position on these types of delivery. These should be offering us the ability to more greatly engage. And so I don't mean to speak for Caltrans OCR, but I think it's fair to say that this is of great interest to state departments because of the capabilities here, the potential for engaging DBEs.
Great. So, Michael, if we can go to the next slide, I want to make sure we have some time for our last section here. But Mark, of course, the BART SBSS program, we do not make recommendations, but we do provide people with access to resources which they can take upon their own. So could you just share, this is your contact information, but is there an avenue for SBE, DBE, and all the firms to engage with CalInfra?
Well, yeah, so we have a special class of membership for DBEs and nonprofits, and so would be very happy to discuss that. We are very interested in expanding our coalition. It's only through a coalition of many members representing many groups, and particularly small and medium-sized businesses, disadvantaged business enterprises. That voice is absolutely essential as we build out how we deliver these types of projects using collaborative forms of project delivery. So I really would encourage you to reach out to me if you have interest and would very much like to engage you. But if you just simply have any questions, I'm happy to answer them. I'm very happy to hear the AIA is looking at providing a list of projects. But I am still going to, if you folks don't mind, I'm still going to take that recommendation or take that from this meeting and see if CalInfra can't put together a comprehensive list of projects across the spectrum of collaborative forms of project delivery, and have that available for folks like you so that you can, as early as possible, get engaged with these projects. But please do reach out to me with any questions that you might have. regardless of your desire to participate as a member of CalInfra, I'm very happy to help. And if you have any suggestions for what we can be doing to better engage the private sector in general, but specifically DBEs and SBEs, small businesses, please do let me know because I would
Great.
very much like to do that. Thank you, Paul.
Great. Thank you, Mark. So, Michael, can we go to the next slide? I want to make sure that we maintain our promise of getting in on
And
time.
real quick, Paul, I do apologize to folks if I was at all disjointed this morning. I didn't have my coffee, and as Paul will tell you, I threw my back out last night, so I'm a little bit out of sorts. But again, I'm happy to clarify for anyone. Please continue, Paul. But I do apologize for any of that.
No, you've been fantastic, and happy to see if you have any input on these next section. But again, this workshop is not geared towards any specific project, but I will tell you, a couple years ago, BART did have a progressive design build for their BART headquarters project, which was a significant tenant improvement program. The SBE goal on that project was 30%, and the project did achieve actually 32% small business participation, which included minority, women, veteran, and LGBT businesses. So based on that project, we wanted to kind of share a couple of, let's just call it lessons learned, challenges, or benefits. So really, from a progressive design build, specifically in regards to that BART headquarters project, we did see the advantages to small business participation did include, it gave our industry, small businesses, a chance and a longer lead time to build the relationships with the general contractor. At that point, it was Turner. And of course, Turner had several key trade partners, which are on a package by package basis. And the progressive design build in that situation did provide folks with a lot more time to build those relationships, because as we all know, people want to do business with who they know. So in that case, we had a series of pre-bid meetings, and then it was during the pandemic, so we actually did have some virtual opportunities where, on a trade package by trade package basis, the designated and approved trade package partners did meet with all varieties of small businesses throughout that process. So there was a lot more lead time for that. Again, time does provide our SBEs to thoroughly review the different scopes, because as we all know, when you have a traditional design bid build, of course, everything happens at once, where the contractor needs to list their SBE, DBE partners, and everything happens at once. So with the progressive design build, it does actually flow out a lot more time, where our firms who are small and minority can actually get better access to information, a little bit more time to understand the intricacies and things that they need to take into effect. And that is critically important, especially in the case of BART. We always want our firms to be as updated and comprehensive as possible, because during that bidding and estimating phase, you need to make sure that your bids and your quotes are really truly inclusive of all the different elements that BART needs you to consider, which include their project stabilization agreement, which some other agencies call a PLA, but there's a lot to know about that. And then there's always the ubiquitous Department of Industrial Relations, which has all of its guidelines that you need to meet and include in your bid. And then, of course, there is the prevailing wage items, as well as other reporting requirements that BART demands for its contracts that are fully executed. So making sure that you actually have more time to understand these intricacies is really a benefit. So it helps you in your making sure that the bid that you submit is accurate, and that you're actually not going to be losing money, which nobody ever wants to see. Michael, next slide. So potential challenges for SBEs of all varieties. Well, while time can be your benefactor, time can also be more challenging. because you are going to need to track the progress of your specific trade package. I see on here we've got Tana Harris and Nicole from Harris Hoisting, and I see Joshua from Bay Area Pipe. You know, they all know from their experience that when you're tracking projects of this length, it does add, you know, we're all busy people. So sometimes, you know, if it's not on your front dashboard, all of a sudden before you know it, the opportunity is passed. So there is, and the other time factor, which might be a challenge, is there's a lot more meetings that you're going to want to attend. In the case of the BART headquarters project, we had those larger industry meetings, then we had pre-bid, then we actually had the events that dealt with trade package by trade package. Obviously, it's important to attend all of those, but we also know that time is a commodity. So we know that, you know, not everybody has the resources to send somebody to a meeting, especially if you don't have a business development. If you are the CEO, then, you know, you've got a lot on your plate. So time can be a challenge just for the investment that you need to make under a progressive design build. And then relationships. Many times, like in the case of a given project, and maybe it was Turner in this case with the BART headquarters, you know, a lot of contractors have had personal relationships with key decision makers at Turner. Well, in a progressive design build, Turner had brought on their trade partners, which meant a whole new set of key decision makers that our SBEs might, you know, they had to develop new relationships. So many use that time to their advantage, but I will tell you that sometimes it is challenging where you have to really dig in to meet a bunch of new people who may not be familiar with your experience, qualifications, and capacity. Next slide, Michael. So bottom line, we are here to assist everybody in being more competitive in the marketplace. Obviously, this is the SBSS program is geared towards contractors, material suppliers, and so forth. But, you know, there are some A&E companies that actually do bridge both aspects. So please, you know, feel free to reach out to us. But here are the specific steps where the SBSS program can help you in regards to preparing for a progressive design build. We will sit with you and do an intake session so that we can better understand the successes of your business, and more importantly, how can we provide those free services to really help your business be more competitive. So again, Michael has developed this fantastic BART Procure Portal intake session, which can take as little as 30 minutes, but he's also done some online tutorials just to make sure, because the BART website is very deep and sometimes you get kind of caught up, but let us help you make sure that we navigate you to getting you set up and registered in the BART procurement portal, you know, where the work plans can be accessed and who has the work plans and so forth. The other big thing is assistance with marketing materials. And again, sometimes it's the case of the cobbler's kids having, you know, holes in their shoes, but sometimes we don't take care of our own businesses because marketing, developing, and keeping capability statements is challenging and time consuming. Let us help you. We've got these really fine-tuned processes that will really help you make sure that you're putting your best foot forward, because as we all know, sometimes you've only got 15 to 30 seconds to make that first impression. Then, of course, you know, communicating your firm's value proposition. We found this to be incredibly helpful, and it's really rewarding to see the progress that people have made in truly hitting on the types of elements and key factors about your business that the person sitting across the table who has the decision-making power that they want to hear. So we do really love to work with Melinda Lee, and she is your best advocate. And even if you're a great presenter, I'm telling you, you can always use some brush up techniques. So she does have different cohorts that she works with in 30-second introduction, a 1, 3, or 5 minute interaction. So again, reach out to us and let us know if you need assistance in any of these areas. And then, of course, everybody, I don't care how big or small you are, financial resiliency is important. And these days, especially, we're still emerging from the post-COVID era, and banks, especially at the regional level and at the community bank level, have a lot of programs that they didn't have before. So we can help you make connections to those finance institutions. Maybe they're the SBA, maybe they're an SBA lender, but we really have a lot of connections and resources. So again, time is on your side when you need to develop those relationships, but then also we really need to use this time so that we don't get kind of bogged down and lose track of the prize. Mark, any further comments that you've seen in your experience, or did we hit on the key ones?
No, you hit on all the key ones, and like with anything, there's advantages and there's challenges, but I think very strongly that the advantages for SBEs in progressive design build far outweigh the challenges, and with organizations like this, with opportunities like this, folks that can support the SBEs. Again, CalInfra would like to support in any way we can, but with that kind of support, I think you can make the most of the advantages and overcome many of those challenges. Great.
And thank you, Mark. And then Bishoy, thank you so much. I think that's great feedback that Michael will incorporate. I think it's I love the whole lump sum thing, and the more that we can help prepare and provide information in an agnostic opportunity like this is, so we're not talking about anything specifically that's on the street, I think that opens up. So Jesus, thank you. Mickey, thank you very much. I know we're just 3 minutes over, so I apologize, but we will have a recording of this for everybody to use. We will send this out as well as the PowerPoint. So we will make sure that everybody gets this. And again, here's our key contact folks. Fei Lu from BART OCR is just a remarkable human being who is really so helpful. And Michael and Melinda, we've got other things coming up in the future, so we'll send those to you by email. But thanks, everybody. Enjoy this month. Be safe. And we want to make sure that you take BART every time you can from your event to event. So really grateful for the great things that BART brings to the table. So thanks, everybody. Have a great day and a great week.